Okay, thanks for joining me, everybody. Welcome to the first and probably only episode of From the Garden to the Plate. Everybody's been really interested in my garden, and it's the winter season here in Australia. And what we're going to do today is we're going to harvest some of this out of control kale and see how we go. We've got a recipe from a friend of ours over in the States, and we're going to make this chicken and kale recipe this evening when the kids come home for dinner. And if you're like me, you've probably never heard of kale before, but I heard it just grew well, so that's what I did. But apparently it's got more iron than beef. It's a cruciferous vegetable, so it comes from the same family as your Brussels sprouts and your broccolis and other green things that probably give you gas and help you clean out. So I'm a little bit more formal than most. You can just come out and grab your hands because apparently I've YouTubed how to do this. So you can take my word for it. We're doing the right thing. But I'm just going to put it in a bowl. About one bunch of kale will probably serve a couple of people. So we'll grab a couple big bunches of kale. So come on over to my garden and let's have a look. Okay, so here we are at the garden. I feel like Steve Irwin. Yeah, just looking for veggies. So we have some broccoli. You can see the broccoli's coming through really nice now. The cauliflower, I don't know what it actually is supposed to look like. But this is kale here, the big ass stuff. Here we have, we've got a couple of varieties. We've got the curly kale, as you can tell because it's curly. And around over there, we'll see it later, we've got some purple kale. I didn't actually know what I was planting when I did so. I just thought I'd give it a go. What you want to look for here, though, is that we've obviously let it run a little bit too much, so you can see all this discoloration in the leaves and stuff. They're starting to dry out. They're a very firm plant. It's a firm leaf, and it's a very robust plant. You can't really do much to harm it. So what you want to do when you're harvesting kale is really take from the bottom leaves. We want to leave these top, I think they call them the eye leaves up here, and that'll just keep growing. That'll keep growing probably to about 3 meters high, apparently. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start from the bottom of, say, this really beautiful curly-leafed kale, and I'm just going to start cutting the leaves off at the bottom. And we'll probably discard those that have been discolored, but you can see these leaves, there's no discoloration whatsoever. I'll probably get rid of some of these just so that we can, what you want to do is get rid of the leaves that are discolored because they're not going to be any good, but they're still drawing nutrients from the plant. So the plant is still trying to make these grow. So we want to get rid of them so that we save the nutrients for the leaves that we are going to harvest. And we're just going to take a lot of leaves out. And I'll come back to you when we have about 2 bunches. Ah, there's my gnome. Say hello, gnome. He's been out of the sun for a little while. We're still harvesting. I think that the bigger leaves are probably going to be a little bit too bitter and a little bit too tough, so we're going to get a lot of them, and I'll show you how to cut the stems out and all the stuff that you really don't want to eat. Okay? Oh. Oops. Sorry, gnome man. Okay, I'm not sure if we've got enough. Okay, I went a little bit overboard, but a lot of this is stem, and a lot of this is big leaves, and a little bit of the tarnished leaves that we saw earlier, and we're going to get rid of those. But let's take this in, I'm pretty sure, and like spinach, it's going to reduce as well. So let's take these hardy big bad boys into the kitchen and see what we can make. So, welcome to my kitchen. We've brought everything in and we're ready to cook the chicken kale recipe. We've got some of the kale here, and I've already done some of the kale that's in the sink rinsing, because it's got to be cleaned. It's got to be cleaned very well. And let's go over the recipe. What we're going to do is, just to save time, I've already pre-prepared all the ingredients for us. I've diced up a kilo of chicken thigh fillet, really nice because it keeps that tender fat on there, and it's going to bring the taste in. Some green, yellow, and red capsicum, not only does it taste good, but it looks good as well. It's going to bring some color to the dish. And you may or may not want the amount of garlic that we have, but we love our garlic. So you know what? We're having it. Oh, I almost forgot the most important ingredient. Just gonna have to have a little pour of this while we're cooking, because the kids aren't here yet. And yeah, well, this just makes the cooking that much more enjoyable. Let's do it. Okay, we're gonna cut up the veggies, but before we start, let's get things operating over here. One of these things is essential in every kitchen. You just bung in the rice on the water, and while you're cooking, the rice gets made for you. Fantastic little device. I would encourage anybody who's time poor to get one of these big bag boys. Similarly, if you've got an electric stovetop, turn it on now. Because I'll tell you what, while you're doing all this, it takes that long for an electric oven to bloody get warm. So, let's trim the veggies. Kale. Got two versions of kale, the purple, the curly. What we don't want to eat is this big stem down the middle. This stem and this vein right here. Chop the stem off right away. When I was YouTubing how to do this, they were sitting here like this and cutting it like that and cutting it like that and getting a nice little V out of this, because you don't want that. Bung that. Okay, what you do is you take that, you take the stem off, and you think about how you used to make those paper angels. You know, when you're a kid, you fold it in half, you take your knife and make sure you got a sharp knife. And just zip, done, gone, okay? And you do that for the rest of them. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna bung them in the water and let them rinse while we do the rest of it. I'll see you in a few minutes. Hey, so, now what we got, we've taken the stems out. All right, we got none of that tough crap in there. Everything's been trimmed. We take everything, like I said, you gotta wash it really well. You put it in your sink, fill your sink with water, just push it down in there. They're made like raincoats. Nothing sticks to them. Look, water just sticks to them. But that's gonna rinse off all those chemicals. We don't put chemicals in the garden, but anything that might have pooped on them, we want that out of there. All right, so while those are rinsing, I'm just gonna show you a couple tricks on how to dice veggies. I'm no Jamie Oliver, but I'd like to show you something. All right. So the first thing is how to dice an onion. I've seen a lot of people do it, and a lot of people do it wrong. And I guess my way is just as good as anybody else's, but let's give it a go. Use a big knife. I'm so sick of watching people cut vegetables with little tiny paring knives. Use a big knife and make sure it's sharp. More people are hurt with dull knives than they are with sharp knives. So what I'm going to show you is a really simple trick to dicing an onion. We're going to use brown onions because they're quite tasty. You can use Spanish onions as well, but we find that these hold a lot more taste. Now, to dice an onion, cut it in half. Take your knife and just make slivers this way. Okay? Now, depending on how fine you want to dice it, you can also cut this way. So if you want it really fine, put a couple of slices down there. Fold it over, bring your knife through, and you end up with a beautifully diced onion. Just finish off the end there, and there you go. We got a nice, beautifully diced onion. Do yourself a favor also. Prep is so much easier if you go to $2 shop and get a whole bunch of these. You can do all your prep work all in one go, and then cooking becomes a breeze. You can sit there, let it cook, and have yourself a glass of wine. Okay, onions done, in there with the capsicum. Just wanted to show you a quick trick with capsicum as well. I know some of the chefs, they like to just stick their thumbs in there, but I find it rips half the capsicum off. I don't know if I'm doing it wrong or not. What I like to do is take another big knife, same thing, just cut around that stem like that, so you get a nice clean line, and push it in a little bit. And typically, as I'm cutting, I pop it out. I always like to have a garbage bag with me. Just flick it out. Now you'll notice in there's all the pith. We want to take the pith out of it. I want to take the pith out of you, right? Yeah, beautiful. Because that's the bitter part, the seeds and the pith. So reach in with 2 fingers, grab that pith, and just extract it with your fingers. Afterwards, turn it over, Give it a baby smack, and you can see that most of it's gone. Then you can see where that pith is, cut down into it, and as you're cutting around, cut that pith out, cut the stem, cut down in, and back out with the pith. All out, you've got a nice clean capsicum. Now what we want for this recipe is we want to cut that capsicum, you want to cut that little crap out as well. We want to cut this capsicum into nice big chunks. We don't want, as it's cooking down, we don't want it cooking into oblivion and really soft. So we want some nice big chunks with it. So we just want to cut those around, bind them up. Sorry. I'm cutting into big chunks. We're going to take those, we're going to add them up to the other capsicum, and then we're going to start on the chicken. All right, capsicum, onion, all the veggies are ready to go. Next thing to do, we're going to wash that kale and just rinse it and drain it. But while that's happening, why don't we put some oil in here? And let's find out if this big bad boy is hot enough. It looks it. You want about 2 tablespoons of oil in there. I always watch the chefs do 2 tablespoons of oil and I think, Jesus Christ, you're swimming in it. All right, but chicken, thigh fillet, beautiful. You can see you can tell it's ready when you hear that sizzle. When the chicken goes on and it's sizzling, that's beautiful. Now all we want to do is just brown this chicken. So we just want to get it going, get it evenly spaced on the bone of the pot, and let that go. Medium to high heat, let that go. And while that's sizzling, we're going to go over and drain this kale. Drain the kale. That could be a saying. Be right back. Then add more kale. We're going to drain this kale. Make sure a lot of the water's off, because to be quite honest, the recipe's going to be watery enough as it is. And as you know, as we've seen with spinach, it's going to be a lot of it. That's why I'm using a big pot. Okay? So you just want to take this, get all that water out, shake it off, and my little trick for draining or drying veggies is just roll it into a dish towel. And it doesn't matter if you're crunching, because I'll tell you what, this is some seriously robust veggie. All right? And then do the other way. Beautiful, beautiful. Now I'm bloody con the fruiterer. Beautiful. Tuesday. Oh. Okay, we're drying kale now. I'll tell you what, next time when we're talking about drying kale, I think we should make some kale chips. I hear they're really good with the foodies. Something to think about. Okay, just gonna let that drain. And let's turn this over. Oh yeah, that's browning nicely. Again, we don't want it to get really cooked. Otherwise, it's going to dry out. All that fat is reducing now and making it nice and slippery and slick. Very nice. It's very nice. I like it. I like it a lot. Oh, no, I'm doing bloody Borat. Borat can't cook. I got some friends that look a lot better in mankinis, though. All right. So the kale's almost ready. As you can see, there's a lot of it. Or it looks like there's a lot of substance there, but there's also a lot of air. And that's going to go, when we start steaming it, the kale's going to reduce. Just like spinach, it's going to sink right down, and it's not going to be nearly as much as what we see in this bowl, but there sure is a lot of it. Oh, well, okay. All right, that chicken's browned up beautifully. It's not really well cooked, because it's going to cook for another half hour to 45 minutes after we've done all the rest. So what we want to do is we want to take it off the heat and we want to reserve it. We want to reserve that up, being careful just to leave that chicken stock in there. I'm sorry that I'm not a very good actor and I don't know which way the camera is. Okay, so we're just going to reserve the chicken. I want to keep that chicken stock in there because when we add the veggies and the kale, I want that kale to steam. All right, so we just take the chicken out. See how it's nicely browned, but not really well cooked. I'll just bring this back over, put it back on the heat. And the first thing we'll do is we'll just soften down this garlic. Put that garlic in there. We love garlic. We got bad breath, you come to our house for dinner, you're gonna leave with bad breath. That's cool, and it smells bloody awesome when you're coming down the stairs for dinner. Okay, so we're getting you can hear that garlic, it's soften down a bit. I think they call that sweating it out. I don't know. But I think that's what we're going to do with the onions as well. So the garlic's just starting. We don't want the heat too hot or else that garlic will burn. Okay, quickly before everything starts going haywire, we're going to add all our veggies in there. You can see I've added a few spring onions in there just to bring a bit more color to it. And we got a little bit of a fiesta of veggies going on in there. Okay, so we want to sweat those veggies down. We just want to soften them up. Okay, because all that liquid in there is going to steam it. And once they've softened up a bit, I'm going to start adding all this kale. Rice is going really well. It's going to be ready by the time we're ready. I don't really think we're going to use all this kale. But just come back and we'll figure it out. Okay, the veggies are soft. They've been well steamed down. They're sweated. They've sweated like they're in a Russian sauna. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to reduce this kale into that pot. But we've only got that much chicken. So it's going to be a rule of thumb. We could either make this a chicken and kale recipe or a kale and chicken recipe. So what we'll do is we'll just put a bunch of kale in. I'm winging it here, folks. Okay, so we'll put a bunch of kale in. And I think what we're going to do is we're just going to put this lid on, and we'll see how we go. And we'll come back and see how much that goes into. And then we'll figure out how much of this we're going to put in. More wine. Okay, it reduced like crazy, so much so that we've got the entire thing in there now. Notice I used a big pot. Always use a big pot. It's not going to fill the pot, but you're going to need that pot to handle the volume of kale that you're going to put in there before it's reduced. So, to finish this recipe off, just make sure nothing's sticking on the bottom. It's all good. We want to take that chicken that we've reserved over here, and we want to put that there just on top. And see all the juices? Ah, beautiful. Coming off the chicken, all those juices, you want to keep those. That's the flavor. Bring that in there. And the final ingredient that's going to bind this all together is some chicken stock. Salt reduced. I'm a little bit sensitive to salt, so we're using salt reduced ingredients in here. And a big plug for Campbell's. Come on, send me some cash. Okay, no, okay. Oh, watch that. Okay, so we just put your. All right, and then you just pour it in. We're going to use the whole thing. And it's really going to bring some beautiful chicken flavor to this meal. I think we'll only use one of these because that's going to bring right up. And as that kale reduces, that level's going to come up and cook the chicken as well. We're going to stir that in a little bit, but we're going to let that simmer for a little bit. Add in lots of pepper. If you like lots of different spices, add your spices now because they're going to cook into that liquid and onto the chicken and throughout the dish as the half an hour to 45 minutes goes. I'm using a light salt, the low sodium salt, just because of the aforementioned issues. So, but what we also like to add to this, if the kids aren't around, maybe some chili, that'll put some bite to it, some herbs that you like. This is one of those dishes, we're showing you the base, but you can add anything to it. You just want to spice it up or you want to flavor it up, you just chuck it in now. Really easy, come home, put that on, 45 minutes, Bob's your proverbial father's brother, and you're eating chicken kale. And drinking wine. Okay, so it's been 45 minutes. We finished the whole meal. We finished a bottle of wine. And we're ready for the next one. And rice is all done, cooked for us, and a beautiful steaming pot of chicken kale. You can see that kale's been reduced drastically. So we're going to turn that off the heat, and that'll last you, especially for an Aussie winter, that'll last you for ages. That'll be good for the kids, lunches, anything. So let's see what it looks like from the garden to the plate. All right, let's see what it looks like on the plate. From the garden to the plate. So, put in some rice. Come on over here. Where's my big ladle? My big bad ladle. And take a lot of that kale out and make sure you get a lot of the the chicken in there with it. The chicken in the broth is what's going to make this sing. Look at that. Beautiful, beautiful. Chicken and kale from the garden to the plate. Beautiful, beautiful. Suits my palate.